Well, good afternoon, everybody. National Signing Day 2025, February the 5th. You got to be doing great if you're a Michigan fan. Today is a day to sit back and rock in the chair and feel good about the maize and blue. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you get to National Signing Day and you're thinking, wow, they lost this guy. This player slipped through their fingers, but not the case this year in this cycle. Michigan hits a home run in 2025, and it culminates today with Michigan grabbing one of the best offensive line prospects in all of the country. So that big smile that you see on people's faces today, you're wondering, like, why the heck would that person be smiling? They must be a Michigan fan, because this is a day to have that Cheshire cat smile, feeling like things are going really well for Michigan. We'll explain a little bit more on that if you're like, wait, what's going on here? So, Michigan, with what happened today, we talk about momentum in recruiting. We talk about momentum with a program. Momentum with the fans, or just your overall feeling. I want to talk about that, what's inside and how you might be feeling about Michigan on the football field. Also, the basketball team, we'll take stock in where Dusty's at in February, couple hours before Michigan tips it up with Oregon at the Chrysler Center. Big game for Dusty and company, who can be right up on the top of the Big Ten standings after some things that have happened recently. And the boys on the hardwood, the basketball team can put a big stamp on things here in the early going. They can jump into February and let their presence be known if it hasn't already been. But let's start with that big news today, and that had to do with Ty Haywood. Now, if you're somebody that knows who Ty Haywood is and you are a loyal follower of the Wolverines and you are a member of the Maize and Blue Review, you have known about Haywood and likely his intentions. No BS. No false promises, the facts. And Haywood was on the chart, was on the list. And today he made it happen. But you know all of these things before everyone else if you're a member of the Maize and Blue Review, and you have a feeling of well-being when you're a fan and a member of the Maize and Blue Review, because you know you're not being served up of the hot takes and a load of garbage. You're getting the facts. And yeah, there's entertainment involved in that, but it's all there. And I encourage you each and every show to join up, but I want to do it emphatically here on National Signing Day, because you just got this new crop of players in for 2025, but you might be thinking, I want to have a little bit more fun with Michigan. I want to enjoy the process a little bit more of being a Michigan fan. This is a way to do it. Joining up the Maize and Blue Review and following recruiting all year long, from the beginning, the infant stages, all the way to National Signing Day, early signing period, and along the way. It will be a bit of a roller coaster, but a fun roller coaster. Buckle you in and send you on your way. And along the way, there's a lot of woo, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. So how you do it all is by going to michigan.rivals.com. We'd love to see you over on the Maize and Blue Review on the Den, talking Michigan. I mean, a couple other things that are going on as well in the world of sports, like that big trade over the weekend. It happened, and so yeah, folks were weighing in on that as well. All right, so here it is, Haywood. There was a little bit, I don't know if you felt a little bit nervous. I'd say how would I put it? A tinge of nervousness after I thought that he was going to make it public on Monday, and then it was pushed to today. So that gets you, because things were looking really good for U of M. So if things were looking really good on Monday and they're like, well, hang on, he's going to take a couple more days and do it on National Signing Day, just a little bit. Say, oh, he just wanted the publicity at his school. He was the highest rated guy out there. He made a mistake. All of those things could be true. I'm not exactly sure which one it was. I'm going with what Josh Henschke, the publisher at the Maize and Blue Review, said over the weekend. Like, yeah, they just wanted to do it on National Signing Day. If he was waiting that long, why not wait a couple more days to make it big on the big day and everything else? But hey, it didn't matter. He did say that he is going to Michigan, and U of M snaps him up, and this is a great day. And if you're not head over heels ecstatic, running around with your index finger in the air wherever you're at work, then you just don't have a pulse. I mean, today, being able to grab Haywood and everything that it means for Michigan and on the recruiting side, and if you are somebody that is dialed in on the recruiting all of the time and you still don't feel like you've got that index finger and you want to run around, I would suggest to you that this was a real coup. This is not the kind for, it seems like 10, 20 years, recruiting fans have been like, oh, if we could just recruit with everybody else, if we could just, get over all of this, what everybody in the South, what they're doing, the luring these players in, the bags that are dropping and all of this. Let's be honest. Michigan's in the mix for everyone now. You always, it was almost, I'll say it's a little bit, and I know this is hurtful for some. It's like being a Lions fan. All those years, everybody talked about the Super Bowl, and you're like, all right, whatever. And then the last 2 years, as painful as it has been, there was a real chance, that the Lions could have gone to the Super Bowl. And all of those years, people said, oh, man, if the NCAA just did something, or that, they straightened this out, or it wasn't bags, and, and you can have a more even playing field. Could you just imagine how Michigan could do in recruiting? Well, that's a reality right now in recruiting. Michigan has everything to offer. Everything. From the school, the tradition, the team, the coaches, and the money that can go to the players, the support of the alumni and fans and all that is kind of included. Michigan's not taking a back seat to anybody anymore. And I don't know what has the rules changed. I think they're going to change, but whatever. But Michigan has positioned themselves fantastically. So you should be overjoyed. Now, if you're somebody that, but when it comes to the transfer portal, they still can't get every single guy because of their, their transfer policies. Like, okay, you're right about that. But if we are just talking about the recruiting side, the recruiting piece, it is something, and it's pretty big. It's very big. I have always said myself, and being a number one, because there was being the number one recruiting, or winning the recruiting national championship, I guess is you could say, just being number one by all of the services and everything, because there was a stretch of like 20 years that if you ended up getting, maybe it was even longer than that, if you were able to get the number one class, it ended up transferring over to the field. Like all of those teams won national championships. Maybe not all of them, or was it all of the teams that won national championships at some point did have a number one recruiting class? Maybe that's the same thing that I just said, but so but now the transfer portal is involved, and of course Michigan 2 years ago did not have a number one recruiting class, so they busted whatever that long streak was, and maybe there was another team in there, like so Texas A&M won that that recruiting national championship, and they didn't win it. But I think all of the teams that did had one of those. Maybe it was one or two. You might know better than I am. Spending a lot of time on the point that I actually don't know exactly, but I don't know why I'm laughing about it. I am, but I always thought that if Michigan could be in the top 5, that would be great. That it would put them in the running for, the great players across the country and everything that they have at their disposal. Well, Michigan could certainly compete for conference championships. Michigan could compete if they were annually getting top 5 classes. They could compete for national championships. And here they are knocking on the door of being in the top 5. Yeah, well, you can split hairs and say, they're 6 or they're 7. Okay. I think you should feel really good, in fact, great about where Michigan football is at on this February the 5th. And yeah, wrapping it up with a big bow with a great player in Ty Haywood. Now, if you're watching this, you'd say, I thought Ty Haywood was a 5-star. That's one of the things that went down with his recruitment. He was, and then he dropped a little bit. But I don't know. I think I saw today when I was riding the bike at the gym, I looked up and it said Ty Haywood, ESPN 5-star, top 30 player in the country, whatever. That was one service. I don't know how ESPN goes through, but he is regarded as one of the very best. I bet that Michigan, even though some of the services, maybe there were a couple of them that dropped him down a little bit, I bet Michigan had to pay NIL wise like he was one of the top 10 players in the country, or one of the top 10, certainly one of the top 10 tackles in the country, maybe one of the top 5. I don't know how those things go, but he wasn't coming in cheap. He earned his spot before then, some late slides. I don't think that when you're regarded really highly by almost everyone, and then you have a late slide with a couple services, then the teams are taking back their money, because what if services do? They have to have their own way that they're rating these players, and Michigan really wanted Haywood. Michigan is ecstatic. Michigan, I think, feels like this guy is a 5-star, and that along with Andrew Babaloa, they have the 2 best tackles in the entire recruiting class. And then in state with Gatch, whether he ends up being a guard or a tackle, or Strayhorn, who, what's he project to be, a center? That's a hell of a haul. I mean, these guys across the board. Would it surprise me that if in 2 years, 3 years, it went Babaloa, Gatch, Strayhorn, Haywood, either at guard or right tackle? No, it would not. It would not surprise me in the least. That's how big of a deal it is. Let's take some feedback to see where the people are at, if they are as excited as I am saying that Michigan fans should be. Let's see if that is the case. We've got G Money calling it a huge pickup. Ferris talking about 2 of the top 10 and 7 of the top 100. That is incredible, considering we were ranked in the 40s at one point. Scott asking about basketball, who I like between Michigan and Michigan State. I like the energy. I like the question. We will get to Michigan basketball in about 10 minutes. Michigan Go Blue 1, 2, 3, 4. I like him. He's a good person to get a gauge on where Michigan is at. He is talking about a blowout. He's talking about basketball. Look at that. National Signing Day. Michigan signs a gigantic tackle, one of the best players in the country. People are talking about basketball. I'm going to take that as a good sign of what's going down. And, thank you very much, Ferris, talking about how we're working. And we like subscriptions and we like buttons. That's it. Scott is going back in the day, which I have no problem with. Two great tackles, Bubba Paris and Ed Moransky. Yeah, I remember the year that both Backus and Hutchinson from Florida, Backus from Norcross, Georgia. They came in, and as redshirt freshmen, they were on left tackle and right guard. And, they were there. That was, the left side of the offensive line for the national championship team. Those guys, they both got drafted in the first round. I think they went 16, 17 or 17, 18. They went back to, no, is that right? They went back to back in the draft. And it was like they were always linked that way, the offensive line, for Michigan. Scott looking at some of those ratings, talking about Marsh dropped in the rankings. Yeah, maybe he did. I don't know. So I'm not getting too caught up in it. Let's just all say it. When Michigan gets the interest, they start fading guys because they know that Michigan fans are rabid and they're just going to be into it, and they'll put those stars somewhere else at the guys that haven't committed to fan the flames a little bit because they want, more subscriptions, or they just want more juice on other players with other fan bases because they know they have Michigan. That's my theory on why they do things. Now that'd be if they were sitting in a boardroom thinking, you know what, Michigan fans are so intense and are so into recruiting. Who cares if we drop their guys? They're going to still be around. They don't care. Let's drop them. And meanwhile, I don't know, if you're another school, let's say Michigan State. We get nobody from Michigan State is subscribing to any of these recruiting channels because they don't get anybody. But all of a sudden, let's prop up a couple of their dudes and put some rankings behind them and see if we can get these guys jumping in. Now that'd be some rotten way. That'd be a rotten way to do it. But I don't know. That's a theory of mine without knowing it. And I apologize to all the people that Rivals might know they're going to be doing great work and say, look, we pride ourselves in our rankings and our objectivity. Sure, it's going to be subjective, which each person that does the ranking, that's part and parcel of how it goes. But we're not inflating or deflating somebody on, the basis of what school they commit to or when they commit. Come on. But I don't know. And look, I'm not there's a lot of folks that are into conspiracy theories. They're probably all nodding their head like, oh, yeah, are you kidding me? Hell yeah, they do that. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything. Scott says getting in condition for the spring game. Yeah, I'll be in better condition for the spring game. I'm ready for the spring game. Let's go. That's the next part. We get basketball in the meantime, but I am ready for the spring game. Rip is jumping in, which is good. Rip's been engulfed in Myles Garrett trade request talk and eating wings nonstop. Yeah, between Luka and AD and Myles Garrett in the Super Bowl coming up, you could be somebody that could be lost in all of that. I like both of those. I like all of that, actually. All that stuff is interesting to me. Ferris is talking about my calories per hour went way up on the bike when he got that Haywood news. Yeah, that's true. My not my calories. I did. It was easier to fire off, at an 8 to 12 level when you're doing it when you're distracted sometimes. 2 5-stars on the O line. Future is bright. That a boy. You're Abby. I'm in. Let's go. Scott loves football and basketball. I like to see that. Not everybody is like that. Could one of the freshman tackles start? I would say I don't want any true freshmen to start. I mean, there's got true freshman tackles. But look, Mason Graham came in early for spring. And immediately he had guys over on the offensive line saying, this guy's trouble. This guy's the best. This guy's better than everybody would have on our team. This guy's better than everybody we've ever faced. That's not an exaggeration. That's what Trevor Keegan told Sharon during spring practice. He said, Graham's better than anybody I've ever faced. He's like, wait a second, we've got all of these guys that are going to be first-round tackles, like Mozzie Smith, at the time. You're saying he's better than anybody, everybody, anybody and everybody. Yes, that's what he's saying. So, yeah, maybe that could happen. But, Link and Sprague, I think what the hope is that those guys are going to be awesome bookends, and that Babaloa and Haywood redshirt. And then you see what happens next year. But yeah, look, maybe that's old school thinking. Maybe Haywood's coming in thinking, I'm ready to go now. I mean, that's what Babaloa was thinking as well. Those guys look like they can play, and things, it's changed. The workouts, just the whole thing. 17-year-olds, they come in ready to battle with 21-year-olds now. It's amazing. I mean, Mason Graham, playing left tackle or playing in the interior of the defensive line like Graham, I mean, that's very tough to do. He's like, I'm better than all these guys right off the bat. Rip's talking about playing time. A former Wolverine up for GM of the year, according to Scott. Getting ready for March Madness. I love March Madness. Rip, I bought some blue cheese. I'm going to have to credit you because I think Hot Wings a lot more now after these shows because you keep coming in throwing Hot Wing suggestions at me. So I bought my own blue cheese. They had so many choices of blue cheese. And I didn't know which one to pick. They had like 5 different ones. I don't know. Still have it. I'm going to say not so bad. I used them with chicken thighs, though. It wasn't chicken wings. Made the hot sauce up with chicken thighs in the air fryer with blue cheese. Woo! That was great. A little different. I'm just going to say this to everybody out there, and it's only going to take me a minute. It's not about Michigan football or basketball or anything I talk about, but it is about chicken. The air fryer, sometimes I watch these cooking people, cooking fans, whatever. They're online, and I was watching this guy throw together this beef bourguignon or whatever. And he's putting the wine in, he's flattening out he's doing all this stuff. And I couldn't believe just how many steps. But it had to be like 30 steps in like 4 hours. Look, and it looked great. And then I was watching this other dude take these chicken thighs, and he was hammering them, and he was putting all kinds of stuff over. Then he was making up some kind of marinara. And then he was shaking these other things, and it was in the oven, some cheese, back out, a couple more, put it back out. None of that. I'm telling you, you get some chicken thighs, put a little, whatever your favorite thing, a little seasoning on one side and on the other, throw them in the air fryer for 25 minutes. They're done. They're as good as anything out there. Better than anyone. Air fryer, chicken thighs, 25 minutes, done. You're gold. So that's it. Now, hey, Marmansky, let's go. Let's do it. Let's get it. So, a lot of food talk. Yeah, Graham was great. How is Mozzie? How's anybody doing with the Cowboys? I mean, the Cowboys are a sinking ship, you know. I'm glad he was taken in the first round and got his money. The Cowboys I think the Cowboys are tanking for Arch Manning. Jerry Jones came in and I'm the Cowboy, I'm the coach or whatever he was doing. That's crazy. Let's see what Logo is saying. Good afternoon. He says he'll take a top 6 class anytime. Our offensive line class looks like a possible Joe Moore Award winner. Getting Haywood today really put it over the top. That's the way to go. The only thing that I'm going to disagree with you in is that I don't know if you saw it, they're not calling it the Joe Moore Award winner anymore. They're calling it the Sharon Moore Award after, Michigan went back-to-back and then should have won it for a third time. The Sharon Moore Award when it comes down to it. Dan talking about ideal situations on Twitter. He thinks the ideal situation is to have Babalola redshirt and let Haywood start from day one. Woo! A little day one start. Let's do it. I don't think Haywood's coming in, but that doesn't preclude you from being on the field and great right off the bat either. I remember, who was it? Who wasn't in for spring, and then he was fabulous as a freshman. Oh yeah, a guy that's coming back this year after missing all of last year, Rod Moore. Rod Moore came in, and he wasn't the most highly rated guy. People weren't like, "Oh, Rod Moore, he'll be a superstar for sure." And then he wasn't in for spring, and then he was out there. He was out there like immediately, and he was getting time and clock and played great. And he's a great player. That's it. I don't have a go-to spot. I have to admit, my son, who's away at college, is a super Wings fan. Like he loves the Red Wings, but he loves hot wings, and he's going to chicken slob wings and things. I mean, he's right down. He's gone to all of them. And he brings some home, and I can't tell you which one is the best, but I need to work on a top 5 hot wings. They all have, hot wings are, what are they like? Like a good burger, you can put, even though it's just a wing and just a hot sauce, you got celery and you have blue cheese. The wing, how they do them up, smaller, a little bigger. The blue cheese is like, all those kind of things. It's amazing how the different twists that they put on them. They're not all alike. That's it. I like this. This is a 5-star suggestion by Rip. Get some real blue cheese and then add it into the blue cheese in the bottle that you're getting. That does sound like a pro move, actually. Speaking of pros, here's Hadley. He's a pro. Hadley says, with the commitment, he says, somebody had Michigan moving up to number 6, so congrats to Sharon Moore and the coaching staff for a good recruiting class. Basketball wins tonight by 15. A little buzz for the basketball team. Yeah, Hadley, I'm glad you're excited. You should be. People should be. Excuse me, if you put this much time into following it on a minute-to-minute, minute by minute, if not second by second, with how recruiting goes, and today is not your day to sit back, if you don't smoke cigars, to just sit back and put your hands over your head and say, I did it. They did it. This is what I've asked for. This is what I dream about. Well, Michigan beating Ohio State every year. Michigan winning the Big Ten championship 3 out of 4 years. Michigan winning the national championship just 2 years ago. Michigan getting Bryce Underwood. Michigan battling for somebody like Ty Haywood and then being able to land him where you know very well for the last 10, 15, 20, maybe even more years, this is the exact kind of recruitment that Michigan would lose. Somebody would come and everybody would type in, bag. Oh, somebody just wants to drop the bag on him. It's different now. Michigan's in there. So you got to feel pretty good about what's going on. Dre 408, Zahir Mathis is going to Maryland. Yeah, that was a weird recruitment. It looked like Michigan was going to get a visit out of him. And then, I don't know. My feeling, it felt like Mathis was just calling around saying, look, not only do I want the bag, I want more money than everyone. And I want 5-star treatment. And I want to be flown in on a jet. I want somebody to massage my feet. I don't know. That's what it felt like to me with that. That's pure speculation and conjecture on my part. And then Michigan was like, yeah, go somewhere else. I mean, like, where's the point? Where we'll roll out the maize and blue carpet for you, but let's not go crazy. And I think Mathis was like, I want crazy. I want it to be, I don't care about anybody, and I don't know about that. That was kind of my feeling about how it all went down. I'm not 100% sure about that. Okay, so momentum. I looked at rivals.com. That's where that's where we are presented by. Rivals.com, rivals.michigan.com, Maize and Blue Review. The team rankings for Michigan, with the addition of Ty Haywood, the tackle from Texas, Michigan is at number 6. So I'll take that every year from now for the rest of my life, Michigan coming in at number 6. This is great news. I don't know how much more I can say it. Great news today for Michigan. This is just spectacular news. Michigan did a great job getting Ty Haywood on National Signing Day. And you should be overjoyed if you're a Michigan fan. So the momentum I think about, I don't really prescribe to the theory, although it feels like it. I got to admit, it does feel like it. That when you follow recruiting, that you'll hear people say they got momentum now. I do believe in momentum inside of games. Football game, you get a little pass, get a guy in rhythm, get a little momentum, moving the ball down the field. Basketball for sure. I've seen it a million times, and then it's why you call the timeout to stop the momentum. But recruiting momentum overall, while it does feel like that, you get a guy drop here, get another one. I don't think that's true. And that's one of my rules. Michigan this year, though, it felt like they broke the rule and it's like a law or whatever. Everyone was down after Michigan lost on November 9th to Indiana, 20-15. Sharon should have called a timeout late. That came on the heels of the Oregon game where, he had bad game management, where he didn't call a timeout, where his tackle was lined up and, it ended up being a turnover. It was one of the parts that cost them the game. If you think there's only 5 plays in a game and that was a big one, like of a turnover in the second half, maybe you don't think Michigan would have won anyways. Whatever. My point about it is after the Indiana game, Michigan was 5-5. It was a real stark contrast from being the year before and being on the mountaintop, going to 5-5. Game management issues, 5-5. The freaking Hoosiers beating Michigan in Bloomington. The only thing you could do is think about, well, maybe they can be bowl eligible. Trying to make the best out of, making chicken salad out of chicken feathers. That's about all you can do. Oh, they could beat Northwestern. But then they flipped Bryce Underwood. And Bryce Underwood showed up to the Northwestern game. Michigan went out and treated Northwestern like a rag doll. And they smashed them. And I was thinking it myself. It was just Northwestern. I was thinking, it was a nice job, did they score 50 points in that game? Nice job, scoring 50 points. But, Khalil Mullings, all the touchdowns, 200 yards running, almost the same thing passing. What a great job. Hey, they're bowl eligible. At least, enjoy it while you can. But, look at the pictures of Underwood. But the momentum kept up. Obviously, beating Ohio State and taking Jeremiah Smith and holding him down to 35 yards was something. And then going out to their bowl game and then snuffing out Jalen Milroe and company with the defense, tuning him up with this year's team playing the major role. Jordan Marshall running for 100 yards in that game. Michigan getting up 16-0. I didn't think Michigan was going to win that game. They're up 16-0 in the first quarter. I'm like, maybe Michigan is going to win this game. Win. So let's count the wins. Underwood at the Northwestern game, the Ohio State game, Jeremiah Smith, the ReliaQuest Bowl, the players that are going to be pivotal this year coming out and balling out, snuffing out Jalen Milroe. That's a lot of wins. Recruiting, continuing on to today, Ty Underwood, 10. It feels like great momentum for the Michigan football program. Whether it's true or not, it feels like that from a fan standpoint and from where I'm sitting looking at Michigan saying, Michigan looks like they're doing pretty damn well since mid-November. They look like they've got this thing, and their trajectory, wherever it was 5-5 after beating Indiana, it has gone whoop all the way up. Up arrow, all the way through. And today was just a continuation of that up arrow. Great news for Sharon Moore and company going out and doing what they did today to get Ty Haywood. Maybe I'm repeating myself over and over again, but and I'm not doing it I'm just giving you the feeling, my feeling on the program, on the momentum, on recruiting, how they've done it. I think you should be overjoyed if you're a Michigan fan. I don't tend to be overly critical or I try to nail it, try to tell it like it is kind of stuff. I know that gets overdone a lot, but I'm going to give Michigan a report card for recruiting in 2025, Sharon Moore and company. I'm giving them an A. I might put in the margin. Great job, Michigan. You really got the momentum going into the offseason. Next year should be great. Signed, Dennis. I don't know why you would feel anything but ecstatic about what Michigan is doing since flipping Bryce Underwood. There's been nothing but wins all over the place. So that's how I feel about it. Now, before we get to basketball, I do want to read some of the feedback. I'm laughing. Peking Duck. We're Michael Jordan's kid. Peking Duck. Rip likes my radio voice. Thanks. Hey, Keegan. Play caller. A play-by-play. All right. Is getting extra bacon on your cheeseburger a separate level 1 violation? You know, if you're getting a cheeseburger for breakfast is a real boss move, but coming up and rolling in, I kind of like maybe put the bacon on the side if it's in the morning and then you're getting a cheeseburger. So Bredesen eats his wings with the feather still on. Let's go. We got a few more. Ferris talking food. He's been watching the professional food hacker videos. Seems like a fancy way of saying the guy is unemployed. He probably makes more on YouTube than I do. Yeah, I've never heard of that. Maybe I'll have to check that out. Yeah, when you see guys on YouTube or say they're TikTok, I see some of these girls on. I was watching this one girl on TikTok, and I'm like, that can't be. Whose house is she at? Like it looked like she's like on the 80th floor in Manhattan. And she's like, yeah, this is my place. And then people are, no, so I had to research a little bit more. And people are like, and they're like, she's making millions of dollars. She just dances around. That's good. Being an influencer is great, but it's hard to rise to the top. Bredesen doesn't eat wings. He eats whole chickens. I have to admit, I'm glad that Harbaugh did a 180 on chickens where he was like, a nervous bird and everything else. And then last year he had the mea culpa. It's like, I was completely wrong. These chickens are the way to go. So that's a sign of a confident person. Somebody that can say, hey, look, I wasn't fat. I was making not only a joke. I believed it. But look, I was wrong in how it goes. Cut from a different cloth, asking me how long I've been covering Michigan sports professionally. Well, 1994. Cut from a different cloth. Now, I was an intern for Doug Karsh in 1994. But I kind of look at it as 1995. Somebody was just asking, your favorite games besides championship games and non-Ohio State games. I would have to put the Pigskin Classic of 95 for myself. That was the first press pass that I was able to get. It was Michigan, Virginia. It was a very hot day. I can recall going into the press box and sitting down and thinking, these dudes are all pretty lame. Everybody's just kind of sitting there with their pens and, nobody's all fired up for the game. And then the game starts and everybody's just kind of chilling, watching the game. Nobody cheering for anything. Wait, there's no cheering in the press box. It's a very, sterile environment up there. But late in the game, I was able to go down on the field. I remember being on like the line of scrimmage at one point, at like 30 on the Michigan sideline. Just a couple plays before Tyrone Butterfield said he dropped the ball on purpose, which nobody believed. Before Scott Dreisbach hit Mercury Hayes over in the corner. I was thinking, this is it. There's nothing else that I want to do. I'll stay at Michigan for the rest of my life. This is it. I have found it. This is perfect. There's nothing better than covering Michigan football. And then Mercury Hayes scores the touchdown. Guy I'm working with at the time is down in the corner, and he grabs the football, and he puts it in a towel. And after the game, he's like, I got the ball from Mercury Hayes. He's like, what am I going to do with it? I said, give it to me. Sweet. He ended up giving it to Lloyd Carr. I had nothing to do with that, but I think that guy went, old Bill Schnorenberg. He gave that ball to Lloyd Carr for his first victory ever. Yeah, so 95 is the answer to that question. Okay, let's see. We're talking about other people. Look, I'm going to tell you that things have changed. And it was right around the time I was more of the old school guard, and where it was, cheer for the team. Even if you like the team, you're up there to cover the game. You're not these guys' friends. You're not taking pictures with them. You're not, you're up here, working. And then, like, a couple of years after that, people were like, no, I'm a big fan. And then the fans were like, we don't care what they're doing. You can be a super big homer. In fact, people ended up liking. The bigger the homer you are, the more. In almost any walk of covering the game, people like you more. Who knew? But the cat was already out of the bag for me. I stayed trying to be. And look, I'm a fan of Michigan. I'm just a notch down from like the super fans that like do these shows or profess their love on the TV or radio and say we and we're all part of it and that kind of stuff. So, but maybe if I'd go back, maybe I would change it up because those people have all been super. No, it's not all of them, but it seems to work. Being a big time homer. So that's it. Okay. Let's move on to basketball. Michigan has a game tonight versus Oregon, 6:30. It'll be on the Big Ten Network. Michigan is an 8.5-point favorite. I want to remind everybody right here, I do this show 2:00 Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But after every Michigan basketball game, couple minutes after the game, I got to type in the stats so that I can see them on the crawl. I put in a couple other things. It takes me maybe 5 minutes after the game, but I'm on almost immediately following every Michigan basketball game. So if you ever watch a game and you're thinking, man, I want this to continue on, well, you head to the Maize and Blue Review. We're on after every Michigan basketball game. And then if you miss it, like let's say Super Bowl Sunday, you're out partying all day, and Michigan's playing Indiana on Super Bowl Sunday, and late Sunday night, you might want to be like, what the heck happened with Michigan? Well, you just find the podcast, find the YouTube channel, and but here's the thing with Michigan. They are sitting here at 16-5, perfect at home, and they're 8-2. Michigan State lost last night, and if you look at the loss column, Michigan has as many losses as Michigan State and Purdue. They will pull up with a win tonight. They will be in second place behind Purdue. And I think you look at that and you say, how about that? Now, who was it that was talking about? I think it was MGO Blue 1234 who was talking about, hey, man, this is basketball time. Just look at this schedule. And it just talked about Michigan State and Purdue being in front of Michigan. If Michigan gets the victory over Oregon, start thinking like they should beat Indiana. And then look at Purdue at home. Can Michigan, and who asked it earlier, can Michigan beat Michigan State? Absolutely. I think that Michigan should beat Michigan State Friday, February the 21st. The game is in Ann Arbor. If it was in East Lansing, I'd say I think you'd like to see Michigan split with Michigan State. The same holds true for Purdue. Now, I know they went to Purdue back on the 24th and got smacked upside the head and embarrassed at Mackey. That can happen during the course of a season. But you get a chance, not with every team. I only think they play what? They play Rutgers, Purdue, and Michigan State. I think those are the only three teams that they play twice this year. Pretty wild. Now, with the inclusion now of all those Pac 10, 8, 12 teams and the West Coast trips, you only play Rutgers, Michigan State, and Purdue. But getting a chance to play Purdue again, show you where you're at. In Michigan State, I thought at the beginning of this run of February, Michigan was 15-5, that if they just went 3-3, they'd be all right in the course of these 6 games. Well, they won the first one at Rutgers. Now they're an 8.5-point favorite. I mean, they could win the first 3 and I'd still feel all right about them. I think when it comes down to this basketball team, I think people were putting the screws to them a little bit too much. And you start watching them, you get a little excited about, Area 51 and Dusty May and all this. He's cooking and all these things. And, they could be a top 10 team. And remember the one game just settles. It's like, if this team shoots well, they could go to the Final Four. And then you watch them and you see them turning it over left and right. And you're like, this team's like a Final Four team. Michigan basketball is good. Michigan basketball looks like they are definitely on the road to making the NCAA tournament. And I don't know, however you were looking at it, that was my bar this year. Make the NCAA tournament. Meanwhile, with the group of players that they have, it is already an exciting February. They got 2-3 games in March before the Big Ten tournament. It's all on the table. Now, they're not. We'll see where they're at with Purdue and Michigan State, who they get at home. But they've got some of these pieces, and they keep hammering away, and they get a little bit better taking care of the ball. Are they the best field goal percentage team in the country? Are they one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country? Those are good things to have. A couple 7-footers. They need guard play. And they're guards to play better. They can do that. I think they can make some noise. But I like watching them play. They're an exciting team. Dusty knows what he's doing. He doesn't get too far ahead of himself or anything else. He's like a pretty good coach. I didn't think with all the players that they had put together and then looking at their resumes that, were they really going to be able to make the tournament with this collection, with this motley crew? Yes, they've exceeded expectations. You change your expectations as you go along and you watch a team, but they're a fun team, they're a good team, and they're a team that can make noise. I like all of that. I know not every time that I turn on this microphone am I saying, hey, everything's great news with Michigan. But I think it's great news with football today. There's no doubt that it's great news. They got momentum. And with this basketball team being at home and things looking good with them, being an 8.5-point favorite against Oregon, I'm not going to say things are looking great, but I think things are looking good. There's no reason to be down. No reason to be a downer on the basketball program. Things are looking up. All right. That's what I think. Ferris doesn't care. Just win each game. Looking back to last year, RS says we would have been worse off if we kept Howard. Yeah, probably. I'm glad that they made the move. I'm glad that Ward Manuel made the move. It was a good move by Ward. So nice job, Ward. And things are looking up for the program. That's it All right. I'll take one more. Three more. Sorry. Three more. Rip is saying the Rutgers game was so frustrating because of how inconsistent U of M is from three. They get looks, but they can't make them. Yeah, but Rutgers was much worse from downtown, Rip. And Rutgers was worse turning the ball over. But I get you on the game being frustrating. But, these last two games are interesting because if Michigan plays the way that they've played these last two games against Penn State and Rutgers, they'll lose the next four in a row. But what they did in those last two games is Michigan was down, 5 points with 2 minutes to go against Penn State, and Trey Donaldson took over. He hit a jumper from the elbow. He hit a three. He came down and made a pass to Gale for a dunk. He had a big rebound. He got fouled. He knocked down both free throws. It's like 5 plays in a row under 2 minutes that turned things, and Michigan ended up winning that game. Can't count on that. You even with Donaldson, you can't say that you're going to be down 5 against good teams. It's not going to work that way, but it did. Nice job. And then against Rutgers, Michigan, really, that wasn't a game where you watched them and said, well, they don't look all that good. They're like they could have got beat a lot of times in that game. But down the stretch, with 5 minutes to go, with 4 minutes to go, with 3 minutes to go, they executed offensively. They went to Vlad down on the post, and he dunked it. They went to Vlad down, and he got fouled, and he hit 2 free throws. They went to Danny Wolf, who got a pass from Burnett, who dropped it right in his lap, and he was Johnny on the spot. Play after play after play, and then Wolf stepped up and hit 2 free throws when it was important and gave Michigan that cushion where, Rutgers hit 2 threes late to cover, and then Michigan missed some free throws, so it got a little sloppy there at the end. But you back up a minute in there where they were able to get a 7-point lead. They executed late. That's a good sign. Very good sign. So we'll see you tonight after the game. Said I'd take 2 more. Andre says Dusty doesn't call enough timeouts. I asked 2 weeks ago, Dusty, I said, Dusty, the fans don't think you call enough timeouts. What are your thoughts? And Dusty said he calls timeouts, and then the other team, this was, again, 2 weeks ago, he said, I call timeouts, and then the team goes on a little bit of a run. I don't call a timeout, and my team won. He's like, I'm not against calling timeouts, but he said it hasn't worked for him that way. So he understands. I said this was a fan question. But, yeah, go look. Go look at those press conference. I asked him specifically about that. I also asked him maybe he should get on the officials more and demand a call or something. Maybe even get a T once in a while. I think he said he's picked up 1 T in his basketball career. I believe this is his 7th year. So in his 6 years at FAU, 1 T. What he said, I think I've had 1 T. No T's this year. But he says when he yells at the officials, this was just Monday, he's found that he hasn't gotten the calls. And they said he was kind of chilled out. And then he said he thought he got a couple calls. So I don't know if we're tracking it or not. He wasn't buying that he needs to be, more fired up on the sideline. And he wasn't buying that he needed to call timeouts either. He was ready with those answers. All right. And the last one is Vlad has been great. Ted Lasso, basketball is life. Yeah, I hadn't thought of Dusty May being like Ted Lasso, but he doesn't have the one-liners like Ted. But he does talk about being connected with his team and getting out there and winning ball games. So that's all good. All right. Talk to you after the game tonight, Michigan, Oregon. It's at 6:30. And between now and then, Have yourself a great afternoon and enjoy. Soak up even if it's for a couple minutes, the momentum that Michigan was able to gain today by picking up a player like Ty Haywood. Congratulations, Michigan fans. Enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Bye.